Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. In the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to the Quantum Realm in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Alliance Assemble. Volume 155. And we got a little bit of interesting news items to go through this week, including some more Daredevil news, some very exciting Daredevil news on my end. I think I'm very excited about some of the stuff that got put out there. But yeah. So how was your week, Brent?
Not too bad. I can't really complain. Tomorrow is my last day of work before I have a week off for spring break. I have big plans. I'm basically going to run a couple errands, a couple days, and I'm playing video games the rest of the time. So I'm going to do horribly at Call of Duty. That's what I'm going to do. So, I'm excited for that. And hey, I saw the new Shazam movie earlier today, so I can't really complain.
Nice. Yeah. My spring break is not for a couple of weeks, so
so late.
Yeah, it's going to be the last time for that. We're moving to a new calendar next year that'll make it permanently at the beginning of March. So
there you go.
So we'll see how that goes over. But yeah, so I'm still a couple of weeks away, and work week was good. I've got my birthday coming up on Sunday, so looking forward to doing that. Yep, thank you. But yeah, so all in all, just good week. I see Shazam tomorrow night, or if you're all listening to this on Friday morning, I see it tonight. Trying to see how I deal with late night showings for things that are not Marvel at that point.
Well, we'll find out.
We'll find out. Right now, I'm the only one in my theater right now to see Shazam at the 9:15 showing, so we'll see if that holds.
I think mine had, when I looked at the tickets sold, it was around 9 or 10, something like that. One of which was in the same row as us and didn't show up. So
gotcha. All right. That works.
It's not going to do very good at the box office.
Yeah, we'll see. You never know. It could do that Quantumania thing where it goes really well that first weekend and then just falls off the cliff.
For what it's worth, I do think it's better than its Rotten Tomatoes score is. So
that's good.
We'll leave it at that because you haven't seen the movie yet, and I'm sure most of our listeners haven't had a chance. So I've been lucky to avoid all spoilers. Thank you, Omar. Thank you for the early birthday wishes. But yeah, so let us get into this lovely show for volume 155. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network with 8 shows covering a wide range of geek and nerdom. To see the full schedule of shows, look at the show notes below and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance network on Twitter at GUAPod Network so you know when all the shows drop. We also have a Patreon, so if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we've got 2 tiers. Our $1 tier is a tip jar to say, hey, you think we're doing a good job, and then our $5 tier with ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon-exclusive shows, including our show, We Can Watch This All Day, the Marvel Alliance MCU Rewatch. We have 14 episodes up there, including our most recent one, Ant-Man. So we want to thank our patrons. We cannot do this without your support. We also have the DC Alliance guys looking at DC movies and possibly maybe some shows as well. They were kind of talking about the idea of maybe looking at pilots of DC products through the years. Joe just dropped a new Multiverse Minutes looking at some of the recent comic books he's been reading. So we got a lot of content out there for our patrons. And if you're haven't joined us on Patreon, why are you waiting? Go to www.patreon.com/GUA network to join us on our Patreon. But if you can't join us on Patreon, we totally understand. If you can take 30 to 90 seconds and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts, we greatly appreciate that. And last but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com, for your omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. JP and the crew at OPB have got it going on with immaculate packaging, excellent customer service, ships around the world. We are currently, if you're watching this live, we are in the final hours of this final order cutoff for these pre-orders, including The Amazing Spider-Man by Nick Spencer, Omnibus Volume 2, Captain America, The Trial of Captain America, new printing coming back into print, Alpha Flight by John Byrne coming back into print. So a lot of great stuff, including Thor by Jason Aaron, Omnibus Volume 2. Use that code MARVELGUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order. Use it an unlimited amount of times. And we want to thank them again for being our official sponsor. All right, Brent, thinking about anything left in there? Nope. So, all right. So, last week we let off with some big Daredevil news with the trades picking up that John Bernthal coming back as Punisher. So we're doing 2 weeks in a row with Daredevil news. Talking about first up is director. So this is coming from the Hollywood Reporter, an exclusive from them. Daredevil Born Again lands Dexter director Michael Cuesta. So Michael Cuesta, the director behind the pilots for shows such as Dexter and Homeland, is helming the first episode for Marvel Studios' Daredevil Born Again. And so starting off with that, Cuesta is one of the top helmers in the pilot game, in addition to directing the pilots of Dexter and Homeland. Both very gritty dramas. He earned Emmy nominations on Homeland. He also directed the pilots for Blue Bloods and the Sherlock Holmes mystery show Elementary on CBS. So I was a big fan of Dexter, huge fan of Homeland. I've not seen Blue Bloods. I know what it's about, but I also did watch the first couple of seasons of Elementary. So this is top tier get for them for directing the first episode of this. So,
yes.
Are you familiar with any of the shows that he's directed?
I've seen the first couple seasons of Elementary and the first 4 or 5 of Dexter seasons. That is. So yes, I have seen his work there. And no, I think that's great. I think I love that he's coming in and like something like, with the seriousness of what Dexter was and stuff like that. Like, to me, that's a good sign for people who are wanting Daredevil to lean towards the more mature themes, if you will.
Yeah, and especially if like you want this, like, again, you have a lot of, and when I say baggage, it's not necessarily like negative baggage, but you have a lot of baggage per se, like where this show is standing coming from the Netflix, in the sense of like people put the Daredevil Netflix show as top tier for Marvel properties, in a sense of TV shows. So, everyone's big debate is this canon? Is the Netflix show canon? Not canon? Semi-canon? They need to put this pilot out as hitting the ground hard, running, saying, hey, you want Daredevil? Yeah, it's not going to be your quote-unquote same devil you're used to, but we're going to put a quality person like Michael Cuesta to direct this pilot that has a proven record of putting out some banger pilots. So...
yeah, I think it's a good move to get someone like that. You every now and then you hear these names who they've done this pilot, this pilot, this pilot, this pilot. You're like, well, those shows all got picked up, so he's doing something right.
Yeah, especially, I mean, Blue Bloods is still on the air, number one. Yeah. So, I mean, that's so. Yeah, I don't know if he's directed any additional episodes, with that as well. But again, the testament of time. Every one of those shows, Dexter, Homeland, Blue Bloods, Elementary, all have had very long runs, and Blue Bloods continue to stay on the air. But what was buried in this, thing from the Hollywood Reporter promoting it was a cast member at that point, and it said other actors on the call sheet include Michael Gandolfini, who we knew about, Margarita Laveva, and Sandrine Holt, who will be playing Vanessa Fisk, the wife of Wilson Fisk, a.k.a. the Kingpin. So that is a casting change. That is our very first recast for Vanessa Fisk.
It is, and I mean, I would prefer them not recast anyone if they don't have to. And I've seen a couple mixed things that seem like a little bit of Scooper war going on there, Scooper madness of, is this a sign that it's going to be a new canon? Maybe. Can't deny the possibility now. It's a better chance than it was last week when they had kept, at that point they were 3 for 3 for keeping the cast members the same. At the same time, one of the other Scoopers are like, it was more of a scheduling issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
also, very likely, and I mean, I think people forget that Marvel has had to recast people before. Most recently in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania with Cassie Lang, but they have recast people before. So like I said last week, at a minimum, this show is spiritual successor to the Netflix show. Whether or not it's a true successor, we still don't know.
Yeah, and Sandra Holt has had high profile shows before. I've seen her in House of Cards, Better Call Saul, and joining the MCU will put her right in the middle of the biggest comic book movie phenomenon worldwide. So I mean, she has acting chops. I've liked her in pretty much everything I've seen her in. So when I saw she was cast, when I saw that, saying, "Wait a minute, she's Vanessa Fisk," and I said, "Yeah, she can definitely come into this part and carry it. She has I think she has a great range in this." Now, this is coming from the kind of Twitter scooper, The Watcher. They say that Vanessa's recasting is due to a scheduling conflicts. Same character, different actors. No need for conspiracy theories. She is still married to Fisk, as seen in season 3 of Daredevil. She will also not be the only one that gets recast. Born Again is going to be a long shoot, and some of the Netflix Marvel actors have simply moved on. Again, how long ago were these shows?
Oh man, when did hang on, I'll find out.
Yeah,
I will find out.
Well, more to my point is just like, again, we're not going to get everyone back because, as I said, people moved on. People may not just be like saying, "Hey, I did my time for that. I enjoyed it. I'm not interested in coming back, not because I didn't like it, but just because I want to do something else." I don't find that interesting.
Daredevil season 3 was 2018. The Punisher was 2019. Jessica Jones, which was the final of all of it, was 2019 as well.
Okay, so we're looking at going on by the time
4+
Daredevil
years.
Yeah,
and that's just from when the show aired, not from when they would have been done with their obligations of the filming and stuff. So
exactly,
if Mike Coulter doesn't want to come, if he's offered but doesn't want to come back to the role of Luke Cage, you kind of can't blame him at this point. If he's truly moved on, you can't blame him. I still hope he does. I hope it works out, but you can't blame them if they don't want to, and if they're not willing to bend over backwards to make their schedule work for it.
Yeah, and especially the stuff we've heard lots of stuff back and forth with Kristen Ritter coming back as Jessica Jones. Like we don't know if and when she is coming back for this. We've heard more rumor mill more than a Hollywood Reporter Deadline confirming that she is returning. We've heard it more from C-list scoopers.
She feels like the next big one, right? Like the next big name to hope for. Like, okay, if we can get one more, but only one more, we're going to take her, right? Like it seems, at least that's kind of where I'm at with it.
At least the main cast, like not supporting roles like Foggy and Karen.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Agreed.
But no, you're right. Especially, we heard rumors way back when She-Hulk was in filming that, he's going to come in because looking for Jessica in it. Well, I guess that obviously did not pan out. We've heard, and I don't know if it's still true, that when that's Jessica Jones going to be uttered in Echo, that he's going to be looking at. So we just don't know. We keep on seeing Jessica Jones being kind of like pulled around. But the most consistent thing I have heard regarding Kristen Ritter's commitment to this is scheduling, because I think she is now picked up. I think she's doing the Orphan Black spinoff, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't even know there was an Orphan Black spinoff. I still need to watch that.
Yes, you do. It's clones. Come on.
I know it's clones. I need to. It's on the list of shows that I kind of ignore if anyone talks about it because I want to go into it relatively cold. I'm trying to see what she has.
Yep,
it looks like
Orphan Black Echoes.
Mm-hmm. And then a couple other things are as well. It looks like. But I don't know. I hope she's able to come back.
Yeah, and again, like we said, like certain people are just possibly, again, scheduling conflicts, or just they're ready to move on from it. They don't want to revisit something that they felt they've done that. What Tamari's saying, he said when Matt said in season 3 that Fisk would go back to prison knowing he will never have Vanessa, he meant that Fisk wouldn't have the same looking Vanessa.
Yeah.
That's very good, Amari, very, very good. So I don't think this is one that I think people are saying, oh, it's not going to be the same actress. Disappointing, but this is not lessening what the actress who did play Vanessa done. But like, I think more people were upset about the idea that Foggy Nelson, the actor and actress for Foggy Nelson, not being able to possibly being recast at that point. I think they're more upset about that than this one.
Oh, sure. Because Foggy and Karen are bigger characters than Vanessa is, ultimately. Well, at least historically. We don't know what the story's going to be, obviously, but they are typically... bigger characters.
Yeah, you read some of those certain runs of Daredevil at that point. Vanessa does play a interesting and bigger part sometimes.
Sure.
So, but yeah, so that's the Daredevil news for this week. We'll see if we get 3 weeks in a row. We'll go for the hat trick with any more. But again, we're going to start seeing more and more of this because they are beginning filming. So
Good. Bring it on.
Yep. So the fact that we've gone 2 weeks in a row getting this stuff, that means that they're trying to get ahead of this before those set photos come out and saying, wait a minute, we didn't hear about this. Guess this is confirmed. So
I want to go for the hat trick. Bring it on.
Yep, bring it on. All right, so our next story is coming about What If, which we still are not 100% sure if it is coming out this year or not. But what this is official. This is not coming from any of the trades. This is coming straight from Marvel. They have announced an historic new MCU superhero and reveals the episode details for it. So coming from the Marvel website, they issued a press release regarding the new superhero debuting in What If. Kahori is a young Mohawk woman who comes across the Tesseract back before the colonization of America. The episode will revolve around the question of what would happen if the Tesseract fell to Earth and landed in the sovereign. I wish I could pronounce this. I'm so sorry. I'm not even going to do it because I feel like I'd be offending someone in this Native American Confederacy before the colonization of America. After arriving on Earth, the Tesseract will then take on a new life and a new mythology, transforming a lake to a gateway to the stars and leading Kahori on a quest to discover her power. It goes on to say, Marvel Studios work closely with the members of the Mohawk Nation to ensure that Kahori's tale was respectfully done and historically accurate. This includes historian Doug George, who praised the episode. He said that it tells a remarkable story from a native Mohawk perspective, which is truly unique and historical, and will give the viewers a new, challenging, and entertaining perspective on this land's first peoples. The story is dramatic and characters fully realized, and the action sequences are breathtaking. The episode is exceptional in another sense. It is done with the complete cooperation of the Mohawk people from dialogue to adornment. That is, Brent and I are very big on the idea of representation matters. This may be animation, but the fact that we remember one of the big things of What If that Kevin Feige said, like nothing new would be introduced, at least at the idea, the inception of season 1. We didn't really, that was his big thing. Like, we're not bringing in new things that haven't been in the movies. Well, it looks like they've had a change, but this looks really fascinating. And, the big question everyone has is this character going to jump from the animated form and eventually come into live action?
I would be shocked if that didn't happen at some point. But, my only complaint about this is I feel like this press release from Marvel should have included a what if it will be streaming on this day. Like, I feel like you have pretty big news. Your Marvel Studios is introducing a brand new superhero. I don't know if I ever did a fact or fiction on it, but that's definitely an idea I've toyed around with before. Mm-hmm. But regardless, they're introducing a brand new superhero, and they didn't say when we can see them. They didn't tell us. And who knows, maybe this is really episode 6, and so it'd be a few weeks before we'd get to her story anyway. But I'm like, tell us when it's starting. This isn't me being impatient for it to start. I genuinely feel like it's like a piece of relevant information to this press release that they didn't put out. But I like the character design. I'm super interested to see what they're going to do with it. And, with What If Season 1, we kind of enjoyed seeing characters that we do and twisting those situations. Here, it'll be completely new. We'll have no clue where it's going. I dig it. I dig the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the article at that point because it also had the image. So for the viewers, I'm going to pull that up right now. Let me do this. Here we go. And so for the viewers at that point, if you're on YouTube, this is what our new heroine, Kahori, it looks like. So we do not know also who the voice actress is going to be for it. Now, Omar Daniels brings up in the chat that this might be typecasting, but I saw a few people fan casting Amber Midthunder from Legion and Prey playing her live action. Well, it's not just fan casting. She tweeted out right as the story was breaking at that point, and was like saying a lot of praises about it, things like that. So proud about this being in it. But everyone, including myself, was like, did she just say that she's like the voice actress for it? And some people asked, said, wait a minute, are you saying you're like this? She corrected it, saying, no, I'm not. I'm just very happy that, we're getting a Native American into the MCU in this way. Mm-hmm. So she, again, applauding representation in it at that point. But you may be typecasting, but she kind of almost put herself out there and made it people think that she was the voice actress for it. And it's not typecasting. I mean, I loved Prey. I thought she did a phenomenal job in Prey. I have still not to see Legion yet, but I thought she did an amazing job in Prey.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen Legion either for different reasons. Prey I haven't seen, but I heard nothing but good things about it. And I would say like her Midthunder's, she is the only name I've seen people say they hope is doing it. So, I mean, based on the reputation of Prey, then sure, like that's fine. I'd have no complaints with that.
And again, she's having a moment, so she's the easiest one on everyone tip of the tongues, Amber Midthunder. But I mean, there are plenty of very well qualified actresses that are of Native American descent. Now, it would be amazing and great if they got an actress who is descended from the Mohawk Confederacy.
That would be if they could do that. That would probably be number one. But I mean, definitely shoot for that if that's an option.
Yeah. One last part about this, the episode's writer, Ryan Little, also weighed in on the character and the story, saying that I had a wonderful time wonderful writing mentor who worked extensively with the indigenous community in upstate New York, and I was excited to draw on that experience to build an entirely original corner of the MCU with storylines for new indigenous heroes written from a place of respect for past generations and optimism for future ones. Kahori, pronounced Kahorti, it's actually Kohorti, is a real Wolf Clan name, meaning she stirs the forest, or is someone who motivates those around her. In her debut adventure, Kohorti will have to live up to her name to recruit powerful allies into the fight to save her people and change the course of history forever. Well, this just became my most anticipated episode of What If right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. This is going to be really interesting, and I would not at all be surprised if they already know exactly when and where she's going to show up in live action. I don't fathom that they would introduce a truly brand new character and at a bare minimum not have her pop up in Secret Wars.
Oh yeah. It would be just very, very interesting to see kind of how that all broke down at that point. So, but yeah, let us take our next ad break before we kind of head into a more interesting news story at that point. So, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud, so give it that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. So, all right. So this next story is, kind of broke towards I believe the end of last week, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
End of last week or early this week.
Yeah, I think maybe early this week. You're right. Probably early this week.
It is since we've last recorded.
Yeah, since we last recorded at that point. So if you had not been paying attention to, the Twitterverse and things like that, before, I think the week of Ant-Man and the Quantumania releasing, that the script leaked. The entire script leaked. And it leaked on the subreddit, Marvel Spoilers subreddit, subreddit forum. The Marvel subreddit forum, Marvel Studios Spoilers, has been a very big hotbed of people with scoops, people with leaks, lots of things on that nature.
AKA the bane of my existence.
Yes, the bane. Yes, those of us who try to keep spoiler free at that point. Some things are true, some things are not true. Linking to different people who had it, but Disney's Marvel Studios is trying to track down the person or people allegedly for releasing the 63-page transcript of dialogue from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania 1 month prior to the film's theatrical premiere. So, excuse me, not the week before, just earlier. So this is coming from Variety. A request filed Friday, March 10th, on behalf of Marvel in federal district court in California asked the court to issue a subpoena to compel Reddit to identify the person or group responsible for sharing the dialogue from Quantumania to the Reddit subreddit forum Marvel Studios Spoilers on or about January 20th, 2023. Marvel requested all identifying information for the user U-MSS-mods, as well as those or any users responsible for posting, editing, and or maintaining the content that was available on the subreddit, but is no longer for the period of January 15th to February 15th. The Marvel subpoena request was filed pursuant into the U.S. Digital Millennium Copyright Act. As such, that subreddit has been shut down. The Marvel Spoilers subreddit is no more. And so they've also filed a DMCA subpoena requesting similar information from Google after someone allegedly shared the document to Google Docs. Reps from Marvel and Google did not immediately respond to the request for comment. Marvel had previously issued DMCA takedown requests to Reddit, and Google seeking to remove the copyright infringing material. The dialogue from the movie that had been leaked online was edited and or displayed in a Portuguese web interface per piracy news site Torrent Freak, which previously reported the Marvel legal filings. So this has been an interesting kind of thing to see play out. One being that there have been maybe not necessarily script leaks of this proportion, but there have been leaks of I consider to be even bigger proportions. Namely, I'm going to point to a YouTuber who I will not name, but will because I don't want to give, and y'all will know who I'm referring to at that point. Putting out there photos from two key photos from Spider-Man No Way Home, one of which revealed Charlie Cox's Daredevil being there, and then all three Spider-Men being there, and had the audacity to put their watermark on it as well. Brent and I know I avoided it because our buddy Ray from the flight class had warned you. You gave us a heads up, and that's when we kind of put out there saying, "Hey, we're tuning out of Twitter until we get to see the movie." Nothing happened to that individual.
No, nothing at all. I'm trying to think of how to phrase this.
Yeah.
This really sucks for people who enjoy going to that Reddit. Mm-hmm. This sucks for S-Bubs, who ran a Twitter account resharing this stuff, and his Twitter account had a good following on it, right? And I don't mind saying it was his name on it because he put his name in the profile, also his own name in the profile. Mm-hmm. So
and he put out there too that Twitter account, like it was a bot he created that would, like you said, reshare it. He's
not the source behind the Reddit.
Correct.
Behind the subreddit. He just is, well, frankly, regurgitating and sharing those links. That
was great. Yeah.
I genuinely think scoopers ruin this stuff. And
they went too far this time.
I think they've gone too far several times. Mm-hmm. And I kind of feel like ever since certain individuals got off without even a slap on the wrist, as far as we know, for the Spider-Man No Way Home incident, that they've just gone off the rails and don't care. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking Variety. I'm not talking Deadline. I'm not talking Hollywood Reporter. I am kind of talking everybody underneath that tier, though. Just about everybody under that tier. Maybe you can think of an exception. But in general, more often than not, I think they do more harm than good. And so I am personally, for me, selfishly, not upset at all that this Reddit subreddit got canned. I'm also not dumb. There will be a new one. There probably already is. I just don't know the name of it yet.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things, like, I get it. Everyone, if you want to be part, like you said, the people who were part of that subreddit really enjoyed. And again, I subscribe to the bot. I would silence it and mute it for times when I was trying to stay, spoiler free when certain movies were coming out. I'd mute it and then unmute it at that point, because some of the news that we cover on this show, I'm not going to lie, kind of comes from that. But Brent and I try to really do a thing like not to put spoilers like certain things that we just deem to be, yeah, that's spoiler. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to acknowledge that at this point. But when you put out a script, even if it's like just 63 pages of it, like you're just asking for them to come after you. And it's just
you're breaking, I don't know if it's copyright laws, but you're absolutely breaking. NDAs are broken somewhere in that process. Like there should be legal repercussions for that. There should have been legal repercussions for the Spider-Man. It's like, if someone gets a set photo because they're filming outside, I heard this person is joining the cast, right? Like, okay, that's one thing. But when you start having the physical evidence, it is, in my opinion, too far.
Yeah. I mean, you got the Twitter scoopers that like, my time to shine, hello, or can we get toasted like point? Like,
I think they post too much.
They do, and they have their connections. There's rumors about like who they are and what they do at that point. But this is the unfortunate nature of the kind of game that like Brent and I aren't necessarily ones who are scoopers in the sense like we're not breaking news. We're, like you said, we're basically a regurgitator, but we're giving our personal opinion on what's out there and kind of giving our spin on it. But we're not breaking news. The purpose of the show is not to give exclusives and things like that. It's to put it out there for you all that may think it's too overwhelming and you tune into the show to learn some things. And we try to do our best to alert you for spoilers if you don't want to hear certain things. But
I have had one person come to me with a scoop ever I have known other people who have gotten scoops, but like one person came to me and said, "Hey, here is a scoop. Do you want to know it?" It was a DC project, and that's all I'm willing to say about it. It was true. I will say that, but that is the only time I've ever been told anything. And like 2 hours later, it was public anyway, like officially public in the trades anyway. So I don't play the scoop game. I really don't want any part of it.
Yeah, and I'm very similar to that. I don't play a part in the scoop game. I do have 2 or 3 people that I know are connected in it that have given me some information. Like they first asked, "Do you want to know this?" And sometimes I say yes, sometimes I say no. I have never brought that information to the show because that's all of them either will tell me yes I can or no I can't. But I don't bring it to saying I heard from my source.
You don't even tell me.
No, I don't. I don't. And the other thing is, I also most of the time, by the time like within a couple of days of them telling me some information, one of the like sources that we usually talk about on the show, one of the trades, have broken the story at that point. So it doesn't necessarily. I need to say, hey, my sources are, And I'm not going to go into who those people are or what they've told me because it's not the point. But it is just relationships that I've learned, I've garnered over the last couple of years. But again, there comes to be a limit of what Scooper Madness is. Is this going to change something? Probably not. It'll just make people go be a little more careful what they put out there. But it's not going to stop forums like this from existing. It's not going to stop people from having Twitter accounts that put out scoops or threads of scoops and things coming out there. So it's the responsibility of us as people who cover this stuff to say, what are we going to pay attention to? What are we going to mute? What are we going to cover on this show? But we on this show, don't break down, hey, we got the entire script, let's read it to you. Because that's not what we do. That's not what we're about on this show.
I don't even watch trailer leaks unless it's like the Guardians one where it's truly high quality video. I will watch that, but I don't want my experience ruined. And so I'm like, I'm not even going to watch like Spider-Man No Way Home. There was the trailer leak. It was a video of somebody's phone playing the trailer or videoing it. And I'm like, no, I'm not watching that garbage. I don't want my first time seeing this stuff that I care so much about being in that kind of format. No, absolutely not. So that's where I'm at. But again, it does suck for the people who do enjoy that stuff. And I'm friends with people who like spoilers, and I know people who actively seek them out. Thankfully, they respect me enough not to tell me, but they actively seek it out. And I'm like, well, that sucks for you guys because this source of the way you enjoy these properties has now been taken away from you.
Yeah. So again, like we said, there will be, if they're not already, another one coming at that point. This one's had to shut down. They'll be back. at that point. But it's one of those questions like, I get why they're going after, the script leaking at that point, because obviously it's not just the people who leaked the script. They want to find out how they got it. That's what they said. They want to find out who in their company leaked this information. That's their real objective with it. But again, we're not going to be able to answer this. Is why go after this one and not certain people like the YouTube scooper? Why not?
I agree. I still can't believe that one got off scot-free.
Yeah.
There we are.
Mamar Daniels saying, maybe I'm not in the know, but I wonder how leakers and scoopers even get stuff like the script in the first place.
They know somebody who knows somebody. Allegedly, this script resulted from a subtitles thing. Like it was going to be used for subtitles. And so eventually you get out to that kind of departments, and it's just more and more people farther and farther removed from Marvel Studios proper, and they just don't care as much. And part of it is, in their case, is security by obscurity. Is harder to find out who they are when you're that many steps removed. The closer you get to having to deliver this stuff to the movie theaters or to your companies for trailers, to the trailer companies or to the companies to do the subtitles. Like the more you do that, the closer you get, the more people are going to know about it.
And it's one of those kind of human nature things. Some people are just like, hey, I got something. I know something. What, and you get connected to someone like, what can I give you this? What do you give me in return? Like what kind of notoriety, money being exchanged, things like that. Like it's all about you scratch my back. I mean, again, trades exist, Variety, Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, they exist because of their sources and how good their sources are. You wonder why certain scoopers, like I'm just going to call it Umberto. Umberto has a relationship with Warner Brothers. It is very clear that a lot of his scoops come from Warner Brothers at that point because he has garnered a relationship with them, that he is one of the people that they will either leak to or be the first one to break a story about because of that. Like him or hate him, that's what he's gotten. Other scoopers are the same way. And that's just the way of the game.
Yeah, it is.
So, but all right, well, we'll keep an eye on this and see exactly if anything happens as a result. But yeah, that is our news this week. So let us transition to our listener questions first.
All right. Well, first up is from Amari Daniels. Says, if the other Marvel Netflix characters ever do show up in the MCU proper, would you prefer they debut with their own shows or appear in someone else's first? Personally, I like that we got Luke Cage and Jessica Jones before his own show. What do you think, Chris?
I think when you're coming out with characters that people are not familiar with, and especially, like you said, like Luke Cage at that point, like, okay, people who are into the comics may know who Luke Cage is, but general audience doesn't. It's an easy way to basically what becomes backdoor pilots for proof of concept. How do people respond to Michael Coulter as Luke Cage? And obviously it was very positive response that led to the show. I don't think it's always necessary, but I think it's also good to see if this person's going to play in this universe and they're going to interact with these characters, why not kind of test it out within it? Especially in a show like Daredevil Born Again, you have 18 episodes. It is a perfect playground to reintroduce and or introduce characters that can continue on in the MCU.
Yeah, I don't want Daredevil Born Again to just be the guest star of the week show. I don't want it to just be, it's only a vehicle for bringing people in and there's no other purpose. But with 18 episodes, you could devote 1 or 2 episodes to bringing in Luke Cage, 1 or 2 to bringing in Jessica Jones, 1 or 2 to bringing in the Punisher, and still have plenty of story, like time for just straight solo Daredevil stories. Like there's plenty of time to do it, or even episodes where you get to meet, like see Daredevil with, I don't know, Moon Knight, like just another MCU character, right? Mm-hmm. I don't want all 18 to be bringing people in, but there's time for it. I think it's hard to say, but I think ultimately I would say I think bringing them in another show first is a good way to introduce the audience to it who maybe didn't see those shows. Yeah. And part of me does like the idea of Daredevil being the one that brings in most of them. I realize Kingpin technically came in through Hawkeye, but of Daredevil being the one to bring in most of them, because it was the flagship Netflix show. And so I kind of like that he would be the one to bring the others in across to the MCU proper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. So it'll be interesting to see it. But yeah, good question.
All right, and then from Rich Legacy, new listener. So sorry if this was asked before, but if Eternals 2 will adapt the Judgment Day event, do you think it's too soon to do that event? Yes, this has come up recently, but at the time I had not read any of Judgment Day. I've now read 5 issues of it. I have one more to go. Probably will read that tomorrow night, I'm guessing at this point. But honestly, I actually think I genuinely don't remember what I said last week. But right now, having actually read it, obviously it would have to be very different because of the X-Men status. Mm-hmm. But if they wanted to do a true Eternals 2, using that as a way to bring in like a modified version of that, because you wouldn't have the X-Men stuff, which is so very important to it, doing some sort of crossover with the Avengers would be a really good idea for the Eternals, business-wise.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of the crossover. I just, until I know where Eternals 2 fits, wherever it's coming, if it's going to make it into Phase 6 at that point, I'm just like, the movie's reception, initially, for the first one, is just like, it's lukewarm at best. Mm-hmm. So when we don't have an official Avengers team yet, really to kind of play this off.
It was lukewarm theatrically, but it was also the most watched Marvel show on Disney Plus last year.
That is true.
Granted, it's longer than most of the movies, and it was on there for longer. But people were still finishing the movie. People were still watching the movie. The interest was still there. I do think the Eternals found its audience, just not theatrically, where frankly they wanted to, because it was a movie and not a Disney Plus show. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we do see some of the Eternals again, but maybe not in a true Eternals 2 project. Like, I could see it. But at this point, the way they set it up, Eternals 2 Judgment Day, maybe don't call it Judgment Day because, but you know what I mean? It makes so much sense. Bring in some Avengers there, to have little cameos to show them being judged and what they were going. Like, I think it'd be a really good movie.
I would think it would be a good movie. I think I'm more of like, I wouldn't say it's a second movie. I'd say this would be at the third one at that point, because I think we still have got some things to settle with our Eternals. I think we still have got to grow to understand them a little bit more in the modern times, now that we've kind of dealt with their past and certain characters are not with us at that point. But even without the X-Men, I agree. I still think you can do this, but just the idea of being judged, it's like still kind of rings a little bit like they did with the first one in a sense. But I think if you get a little separation and kind of have some character development and bring this, you can do Avengers and like you said, Eternals and make it Judgment Day. So there's potential. Sure. I wouldn't say the second one. I would say if there's a trilogy in there, I think the third one you could definitely foresee that.
Well, all right.
But again, they got to market it, and Judgment Day I thought Judgment Day, you still haven't finished it. I thought it was okay. It was definitely not as bad as Empire, in my opinion, but it definitely was one of those where when I was reading, I was saying, okay, they were taking some big swings with this. I don't foresee this lasting. I don't foresee this having I think things are going to be put back in their toy box in the end. I think some things are going to change, and my prediction was right. Again, not awful, but definitely not the best event I've seen from Marvel.
Sure. I will say I'm enjoying it through these 5 issues that I've read so far. And issue 5 ended on a pretty good cliffhanger for me. And please, no spoilers. Just, give me at least a couple of days from the time you hear this to make sure I get it read, that nothing else comes up. But overall, I am liking it. I'm not a huge Eternals fan. I've read some of their stuff in the comics, but not a ton. But so far for this, I've enjoyed it for what it was. I've only read a few of the tie-ins, and they were mainly tie-ins in books that I was already reading. But that's been my Marvel event philosophy the last several years. And so far, it hasn't steered me wrong. I may read 1 or 2 of the tie-ins before I dive into that final issue, though.
Yeah, I think I can recommend, there's 3 main tie-ins, one for Avengers, one for X-Men, and one for Eternals. I think those were very strong at that point in my opinion.
I will probably read them before I read the finale.
it gives definitely some background on each one of the teams at that point. Kieran Gillen's the main writer of this series. He was also the big main writer of the Eternals relaunch that was leading towards this. I love what he's done in X-Men, Immortal X-Men, and what he's done with that. And now what he's done with Sins of Sinister. I'll tell you what, right now, Brent, when Sins of Sinister starts dropping on Marvel Unlimited, it has serious Age of Apocalypse vibes. I am having a great time reading Sins of Sinister.
Interesting. So, well, I'll probably have to check that one out.
Yeah. So it is a lot of fun. So, but all right, that all the questions?
Yep, that'll do it for this week.
All right, so we're going to take our final ad break before we get into Factor, Fiction, and Comic Book Club. So, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud. So, give it a 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right, let me pull up Factor Fictions. All right, so number 1, Foggy or Karen, not both, will be in Daredevil Born Again. 44% said fact, 56% said fiction. Number 2, the final appearance of Thor Odinson and Bruce Banner Hulk, as played by Chris Hemsworth and Mark Ruffalo, will be Avengers Secret Wars. 75% said fact, 25% said fiction. So people are in strong agreement that Ruffalo and Hemsworth's last appearance will be Secret Wars. Number 3, Loki Season 3 will be announced at the end of Season 2. 65% said fact, 35% said fiction, so got a lot of big Loki fans out there. And coming from Jim Scroggs, our illustrious listener at that point, put forth this fact or fiction. Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark will be in either Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse or Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. 70% said fact, 30% said fiction. People want to see that train wreck in animation.
I saw the newest Across the Spider-Verse trailer today at the theater before Shazam. First time I've seen it in theaters on the big screen. It's beautiful, beautiful.
I don't think I've seen it yet in the movies I've seen it, so I'm hoping maybe my showing will show tomorrow.
Hopefully, it was really good trailers this time. But
any family trailers?
TMNT.
No, I'm talking about #family.
Oh, #family. Yes, yes. Yes, I definitely thoroughly enjoyed watching Dom take down a couple of helicopters with his car. Beautiful. Love the whole thing.
Very nice. All right, so you're up this week. Brent, what do you got for this week?
First up, The Vision will appear in Armor Wars.
I'm going to go fact because I think it's been long enough since we've seen Snow Vision.
I am in agreement, and kind of basing off the rumors we talked about last week with James Spader reprising his role as Ultron, I think it would fit. So I'm a fact as well.
Yes. All right, number 2,
Sharon Carter, aka the Power Broker, will be revealed to be working with Don't Call Her Val during the Thunderbolts.
Oh man. I don't know. That one's that's tough because just of how she kind of left it in the sense of how betrayed she felt being involved in any government. Yeah, I know Val kind of toes the line. In fact, she's many times stepping over the line. I'd say towing the line is being kind to her. I think she's really breaking the line at that point. Could she be working with her? I will go fact, but it's not a strong fact just because just how I know Sharon was very much anti-government. However, the way she left it in the sense of getting her full pardon and everything like that, maybe she's in the good graces and using Val to further her own stuff. So
that's kind of where I'm at with it. On the surface level, it's well, no, she doesn't want to work with them again. But then it's no, she's as far as the government's concerned, she's cleared of all charges. And so maybe she will use that newfound access, and part of that will put her into play. So I'm going to say fact on this, but I'm only 53% fact. I'm just leaning to the fact side.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Final. At least one special presentation will be added to the release slate for 2023.
Well, we haven't had one yet be announced officially, so I'll go with yes. I think it's very possible.
When I originally came up with this, I was thinking for 2024, and I thought, yeah, I think that'll happen. then I was thinking about 2023. I'm like, we haven't even heard a rumor, really. I mean, like, there's been rumors, but like nothing of like in production or anything like that. Like Werewolf by Night, there were plenty of rumors it was in production before it was formally announced. I'm going to go ahead and say fiction on this one. I do think we'll get another one. I just don't think it'll be till next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's, with everything kind of, what is it, being pushed out and pushed back at that point, it'll be interesting. If to say the least, if it's what we're getting, because like we said, we got this supposed new slate of release dates, and a lot of them are now coming soon. And people's like, oh, that means they're all getting pushed back. I said, maybe. but maybe they're shuffling some things, because we still honestly don't know when anything's coming out in 2023 outside the movies.
Yeah, they'll probably shuffle. I could see them shuffling some things where the order doesn't really matter. But other things I think will just get delayed when the order is more important.
Yeah, so. But all right, I will post those on Sunday afternoon as usual, so let your voices be heard. And let us get to our comic book club. So Brent and I, we'll put it out there, since we've stumbled a little bit in remembering that we had to start coming up with our new comic book club. We've come up with it for the new one. We're not revealing it this week because we are now adding one more part of the SpiderVerse arc, the epilogue chapter, the next part of the Amazing Spider-Man, because Brent pointed out, and I was like, haven't read in so long. I agreed, probably important. So we've got one more week of SpiderVerse to go into, but then next week we will reveal, since it's our time to pick, we have made a decision on what the next arc is, and it'll be timely. It will be very timely for this.
Yes.
So
yes, it will.
But yeah, so a little behind the scenes from last week, a little time for Chris to vent at that point. For those of you watching, I don't know if you could tell something. I actually lost access to Marvel Unlimited when we were doing Comic Book Club last week. All of a sudden, I was going off of pure memory of what I read. Thank goodness I read it the night before, the previous issue. But everything was stopping for me. Not only that, everything tied to my Disney account was being logged out. Apparently, what I later found out after the show, there was a global Disney issue. Apparently, they had pushed an update 48 hours before, and I was one of the people that was seeing my account saying, your account has been shut down. Your account has been canceled. Your account, you're not 18 years old. You don't have access to your account. Everything in Disney that I'm tied to was shut down, including Marvel Unlimited said that my account had been canceled. Unacceptable. However, I did get on the phone with the people from Disney later that night after the show, waited about 35 minutes, and a very nice woman was able to explain what was going on and said, I can reactivate all your accounts for you. They were. And then I got an email the next day from Marvel Unlimited saying, we're so sorry that your account has been canceled. Got on the phone with Marvel Unlimited. They've profusely apologized and quickly reactivated my account. So though this issue sucked, I can at least say the customer service I'd received from both Disney Plus and Marvel Unlimited, big thumbs up.
Yeah, and as soon as you told me about that happening to you, I'm like logging into Hulu, logging into Disney Plus, logging into Marvel Unlimited, like logging in everywhere I could think of.
Yep.
I never got logged out.
I'm glad you didn't.
I never did have the problems, and I told some friends at work, I'm like, you guys need to check your Disney accounts, and none of them told me they had any problems with it either. I don't definitively know that they did check their accounts, but I don't know. Omari wants to know, was it Victoria Alonso solving that problem?
It was or it wasn't. No, it was not. But yeah, like I said, both customer service individuals. Interesting enough, both were women at that point. Like I said, I believe I will be the frustrated customer, but I will also be the one that they could have easily told me, hey, it's a global issue. We're working through it. Just give us about 24 hours. If it's still not up, give us a call back. I'm more impressed that they were that quickly able to do it back. So, yeah. So again, thank you all out there. You probably don't listen to this show, but maybe your ears will be ringing. So,
but well, what did you think of this issue?
Yeah, I thought this is it was, when reading this, and it's been a number of years since I've read SpiderVerse at that point. The bombastic battle was, I thought was going to be in my mind, I thought it was going to be much bigger than it ended up being.
It's pretty quick
at that point. Yeah, it is very quick. I was almost expecting like, oh, this is only 21 pages at this point. Man, I'm used to like your final issues of an arc being like double sized or like big splash pages. There are not that many splash pages. There's more exposition than a big battle.
I think that's fair.
And it's fine. It was kind of cool seeing the lost brother of the inheritors come back and end up being on the side of the spiders just because of how his siblings had treated him. So that was kind of cool. But all in all, it was okay, quote unquote, finale, but it wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, it kind of feels like it's just the final fight. I did enjoy seeing the reaction of both Jessica Drew and Peter to Gwen having to be in battle with various Green Goblins, because a couple goblins were thrown at her at the beginning, and just the reaction to that, because obviously that history there, I did enjoy that. But even that is like pretty quick. It's like Peter's like, get away from her, everyone get her out of there, and she says, no, I got this. He goes, everyone wait, she's got it. And I'm like, that's a pretty quick turnaround, but all right, I guess we'll roll with it.
Yeah, I did like the return of Leah Pardon, Spider-Man Japan's illustrious mech returns.
Yeah, and at one point they make you think Uncle Ben, the Spider Uncle Ben, is running and hiding in fear again, right? Like they just the way they did it and the way they wrote it and the way the art is, you're supposed to think he's basically still being a coward. No, he was saving, the little baby spider, little Benji. He was saving. So I did appreciate that as well.
Yeah, I did like that. And Spider Ham, naked Spider Ham playing the baby. That was
unexpected because I'll be honest, I had forgotten about that.
Yeah. I did like how they basically marooned all the inheritors on, Spider Ben Parker's irradiated world. So that was a way to kind of dispose of them. And, excuse me, how it ends is like, oh, well, okay, this is how we neatly wrap up with Cindy Moon, Silk, and Peter just holding each other in their arms.
Yes, and Cindy reminding Peter, your pheromones are still very much a thing. And he just says, it's been a long day.
Just go with it, please. I need my strength back. So
perfect.
But yeah, so we're going to read the epilogue chapter, issue 15 of The Amazing Spider-Man from February 25th, 2015 as our final look at the Spider-Verse. Again, all in all, I've enjoyed this. Like I said, it's just been a number of years. I was just like, man, I didn't remember it just kind of ending like all of a sudden, especially how they built up Spider-Verse being this big event. I was like, man, kind of just ends. And it's just like, oh, that's it.
I've enjoyed seeing so many spiders together, and it's also been fun because I'm on Marvel Unlimited reading Dan Slott's new run, which has had some overlap with this story as well. He's kind of picked up on some threads, if you will. So it's really worked out timing wise for me. So I've enjoyed it. And just anytime you can see so many spiders together, it's fun.
All the spiders everywhere, all at once.
Everywhere, yes. I finally saw that movie.
What did you think?
Interesting. I understand why it won so many awards. Yep. I count me among those who don't think Jamie Lee Curtis should have won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. She, as so many others have said, wasn't even the Best Supporting Actress in that movie. But that said, I understand why it won all the other ones.
Fair assessment. I was very when you said you had the opportunity to kind of see it in theaters at that point. I was very curious to see what you thought.
There was one showing last weekend. One showing at 11:45, and I'm like, great, I can make this work. I'm doing it.
Yep. So, all right. Well, that is it for us this week. So I want to thank you all for joining us. Brent, tell people how they can follow you.
Yeah, go to Brent Tech Social, and that has links to where I'm at.
Awesome. And want to thank our sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com. Use that code MarvelGWay at checkout to get $2 off every single order. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris Balga. You can follow this show on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUAPodNetwork. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions, put out fact or fictions. All the DMs are open on all our accounts. Continue to rate and review the Marvel Alliance solo feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcast of choice. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining us in the chat. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right. So for those of you who have been with the show, you will know this. And for those of you who are new to the show, we're going to tell you this. Brent and I are big fans of the show Ted Lasso. The show is delightful. Absolutely delightful.
Absolutely. It is one of my all-time favorite shows.
And so the new season has premiered this week, and so Brent, as tradition, we started back when we talked about season 2. We're going to talk about the first opening. We're going to try to steer away from spoilers, talking generalities for those of you that haven't watched it or are curious about it. But Brent is always very good at trying to find Marvel connections to see how we get away with talking about trying to talk about non-Marvel thing with it. So Brent, I see in the notes you wrote a little bullet point that I just saw right now. What is our Marvel connection?
Yes, there is. So small spoiler, and I didn't even have to break out Brett Goldstein. I'm saving that one for the future when we have no other options. There was just very briefly a toy Infinity Gauntlet in it. And you know what? I fully expected Ted to say, if you could just snap that real quick, that would solve a problem for me. But he didn't do it. So regardless, I did get a good chuckle out of that. And I said, perfect. That's our in. That's our Marvel connection. What did you think of the Ted Lasso season 3 premiere?
I thought it was good. It one of those things where, how it opens with, again, just very, very small spoilers. He's with his son, sending him away to the airport. And I kind of mentioned to Aaron, I said, I don't think we've ever really fully understood his divorce from his wife, like what ended it. We have ideas, we have theories, but that's something I would like to see happen in this show. I like that he's talking with his therapist still.
Yes,
I like the dynamics of that are kind of shifting in the front office of I can't remember the owner's name of the team. Rebecca, and how she's trying to get Ted to kind of step it up a level at that point. It's a good opening episode. Not the best opening episode, but it did a good job of setting the stage of what we're going to be looking at this season.
Completely agree with all of that. It wasn't the funniest episode of the show, but it was a good, solid, okay, here's where we're at. There's been now before the last season, before this season, a time jump. Like we've jumped forward a length of time, and you learn some new stuff about the new status quo of say Keeley or of Roy or of Nate, of course Ted. We didn't really learn anything new about Coach Beard, but I feel like, in general, the show is back. It did what I wanted to, and now I'm ready to, get into the ridiculousness, get into the heartwarming delightfulness, and just to make me laugh for the next several weeks.
Yeah, we got a little bit more looking at our quote-unquote antagonists for this season. Ned taking over, getting a team of his own at that point. So, but also understanding there is a little bit of uneasiness with Ned in his role,
Yeah, and I just feel bad for Nate.
Excuse me, Nate. I don't know why I said Nate. I meant Nate. Yeah,
I actually think I do know why you said Ned, but I don't want to spoil a joke for people. I feel bad for Nate, and I hope he comes around.
Yeah, especially what his son says when he's on the phone with Ted at that point. So, but yeah, so it's a good opening season. Again, it's just started. Brent and I are big fans of the show. If you just want to have some heartwarm at that point, the hype is real on Ted Lasso. Give it a shot. It'll definitely it's very easily binging at that point. But yeah, you will have a good time. But we'll revisit this from time to time as the season goes on. Definitely by the end of the season, we will revisit this, if not before. But yeah, so thank you all for joining us this week, and we will see you all next week for another new episode of Marvel Alliance. Bye-bye.